Ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak to you today not just as a voice, but as a reminder. A reminder that inside every human being is a seed of greatness, buried beneath the soil of trials, waiting to break through. We all face challenges, disappointments, delays, detours. Life doesn't ask permission to be hard. But the difference between the person who stays motivated and the one who gives up is not found in talent, money, or connections. It is found in purpose. You see, purpose is not something you create. It's something you discover. It existed before you did. It's the reason why you're alive, and when you truly understand your purpose, motivation becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a commitment. Purpose gives pain a reason. When you know what you're called to do, your problems become your preparation. Your trials become training. Your setbacks become setups, because purpose turns every challenge into a classroom. Now hear me, motivation is not always loud. It doesn't always look like fire and thunder. Sometimes it's quiet. It's waking up one more day and doing what you were born to do, even when no one claps, even when the doors are closed, even when your emotions say quit. That's the power of discipline. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now, and discipline is sustained when it is anchored in vision. If you can't see beyond where you are, you'll never last long where you're going. That's why vision is critical. Without vision, the people perish, not because of a lack of potential, but a lack of direction. Let me tell you this, every challenge is a test of your identity. The enemy of your destiny doesn't fear your starting. He fears your staying. He fears your consistency. He fears the person who decides, no matter what comes, I will not back down from my purpose. But motivation also requires the right environment. What voices are feeding you? You can't stay motivated listening to defeated people. You must surround yourself with people who speak to your future, not just your failures. Every created thing has a purpose, and that purpose is the reason for its existence. A bird is designed to fly. A fish is made to swim. An engine is made to generate power. Likewise, every human being walking the face of this earth was born with a specific purpose, a reason for being that is tied directly to their design. And until that purpose is discovered, life becomes an experiment. But once purpose is known, motivation becomes automatic. It becomes natural. Purpose is the fuel that drives you when everything else says stop. Purpose is not something that comes from education, though education may help you refine your skills. It's not something that is given by society, because society cannot assign what it didn't create. Purpose comes from your source, your creator. He placed it in you before you ever had a name. That is why people often feel unfulfilled when they are successful in the eyes of the world, but disconnected from their assignment. Success without purpose is still failure. It's possible to climb the ladder of success only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. When you understand your purpose, you stop asking small questions like, what do I feel like doing today? Instead, you begin to ask, what was I born to do today? Feelings change, emotions are unstable, but purpose is constant. It grounds you in something bigger than pleasure or comfort. It gives your struggle meaning. It tells you why getting up early matters. It tells you why staying up late to study, create, build, or pray matters. Purpose gives energy to your efforts and endurance to your trials. There is something about knowing your why that transforms how you handle pressure. A woman giving birth goes through intense pain, but she pushes through the agony because she knows the life on the other side is worth it. Purpose does that. It gives birth to perseverance. When you lose sight of purpose, every obstacle feels like a mountain. But when you are clear on your purpose, those same obstacles become stepping stones. They don't disappear, but they become manageable because you know they are part of your assignment. When a person is disconnected from their purpose, life becomes survival. You live from paycheck to paycheck, relationship to relationship, hoping that something external will light a fire within you. But purpose doesn't come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. It was encoded in your very DNA. You don't find it in a job title. You don't discover it in applause or approval. You uncover it by going back to your source. The manufacturer always knows the reason for the product. And God is the manufacturer of your life. That's why purpose is more powerful than motivation itself. Motivation can fluctuate. Some days you wake up inspired, other days you don't. But if you are rooted in purpose, even when your feelings fail you, your conviction will carry you. You'll keep going not because you feel like it, but because you're aware that someone is waiting on what you carry. Purpose puts you in service to something greater than yourself. It removes self-pity and awakens self-responsibility. It tells you that your life is not an accident and your gifts are not optional. They are necessary. They are solutions waiting to be delivered. Purpose gives you perspective. Instead of seeing every delay as a denial, you begin to see them as preparation. Instead of viewing pain as punishment, you recognize it as process. Because purpose is prophetic. It speaks of things not yet seen, but deeply known. And when you carry that awareness, motivation is not something you look for. It becomes something you live from. Vision is one of the most powerful forces in the life of a human being. It is not just about what your eyes can see, but about what your heart can perceive. Vision is the ability to see beyond your current situation, to grasp a future reality before it comes into view. When challenges arise, and they always will, it is vision that keeps a person steady. It is vision that acts as a compass when life becomes chaotic, when the winds of adversity blow, and when your present circumstances contradict the promises you believe in. Without vision, people lose direction. They lose motivation. They perish, not because of a lack of strength, but because of a lack of clarity. When you have a clear vision, you are not moved by every wave of difficulty. The storm may rage, but your internal map tells you where you are going. Vision provides stability because it gives meaning to your journey. The challenge is that many people are trying to live by sight instead of vision. Sight is limited to the facts of the moment, but vision is rooted in truth that transcends time. Sight says you're broke. Vision says you're in a season of preparation for stewardship. Sight says you failed. Vision says this is part of the shaping for something greater. When you live by vision, your mindset changes. You no longer judge the worth of your efforts based on immediate results. You judge them based on alignment with the picture you've seen in your spirit. Vision is not about fantasy. It is not about wishful thinking. True vision is born from purpose. It is purpose visualized. Purpose with imagery, structure, and direction. You cannot have true vision without first understanding your purpose. The two are inseparable. Purpose answers the question why. Vision answers the question where. And once you know where you're going, everything you face becomes part of the route to get there. That's why people with vision don't waste time. They don't engage in battles that don't matter. They don't get entangled in distractions, because they understand that every decision is either taking them closer to or further from what they've seen. When life becomes hard, when people misunderstand you, when support disappears, it is your vision that will keep you moving forward. If you don't have a clear picture of your future, you will settle for your present. You will tolerate things you were meant to transform. Vision gives you permission to be uncomfortable temporarily because it reminds you that this is not your final destination. You begin to view hardship as a tunnel, not a tomb. You stop asking, why me? And start declaring, this is part of my becoming. You realize that the night season does not cancel the sunrise. It simply precedes it. Vision also sharpens your focus. It filters what you allow into your life. Not everything is for you. Not every opportunity is part of your assignment. Not every good thing is a God thing. Vision tells you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. It gives you discipline in your decisions and excellence in your execution. A person with vision is not easily swayed by popular opinion or public applause because they are not running someone else's race. They have seen something specific and they are committed to pursuing it regardless of the cost. And vision is not for you alone. True vision always benefits others. It lifts lives, it restores dignity, it solves problems. That's why the enemy of your soul fears your vision. He knows that once you see who you really are and where you're truly called to be, you become unstoppable. Vision is power. It gives energy to your spirit. It gives light to your mind. It gives courage to your will. It whispers to you when no one else understands. It reminds you of your future while you're walking through your now. Challenges are not enemies to your destiny. They are often confirmations of it. When you begin to move in the direction of your true purpose, resistance is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you've finally found the right one. Growth is always accompanied by pressure. A seed cannot become a tree unless it breaks out of its shell, and that breaking process is uncomfortable. The presence of obstacles is proof that you are advancing. Anything that is stationary faces no resistance, but the moment you start to move, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you begin to feel friction, and that friction is an indicator that you're no longer stagnant. Most people misunderstand challenges. They believe that difficulties mean they've made a mistake or that they are somehow outside of God's will. But the truth is, some of the greatest evidence that you are exactly where you are supposed to be is that everything seems to be trying to push you back. Every great move forward will be tested, every calling will be challenged, every assignment will face adversity. That is not something to fear. It is something to understand. When you understand that growth demands discomfort, you begin to see your challenges as teachers, not as threats. Adversity is part of the development process. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot gain wisdom without mistakes. You cannot cultivate patience without delay. It is in the dark, hidden places of difficulty that your character is formed. You do not rise to your calling by escaping struggle, but by embracing it with the right mindset. You realize that this is not punishment, it is preparation. Gold must go through fire before it is purified. Diamonds must be pressured before they shine. Trees must endure storms before they grow strong roots. Likewise, the greatness inside of you must be tested before it can be trusted. When you begin to understand this, you stop asking life to be easy. You begin to ask to be equipped. You don't beg for escape. You pray for endurance. You recognize that the weight you're carrying is shaping the person you're becoming. Without the challenge, you would remain the same. But with it, you're forced to stretch, to think, to grow, to mature. Challenges expose weaknesses so they can be strengthened. They reveal insecurities so they can be healed. They bring to the surface what needs to be refined so that you can move forward in clarity and confidence. Too often, people stop at the sight of pressure. They see the size of the opposition and forget the size of their assignment. But let me tell you, opposition is often a clue that you are carrying something worth fighting for. If what you were building had no value, there would be no attack. If your voice had no impact, there would be no effort to silence it. If your purpose had no weight, there would be no resistance to its fulfillment. So rather than shrinking back, you must learn to push through. You don't deny the difficulty, but you also don't let it define you, and challenges do something else. They reveal what you really believe. It's easy to say you have faith when everything is going well, but true faith is tested when nothing makes sense and you choose to believe anyway. It's tested when the doors close and you keep knocking, when the answers don't come and you keep asking, when the path is unclear but you keep walking. That's when faith is no longer theoretical. It becomes practical, living, breathing, and active. Challenges strip away surface-level motivation and force you to find your internal compass. They separate desire from decision. Many want success, but few are willing to endure the pressure that shapes it, so you must begin to change how you see the resistance in your life. Stop interpreting every difficulty as a sign to stop, and start seeing it as a signal to rise. The pressure is not a wall to block you. It is a mirror to show you what still needs to grow within you. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. It is the ability to do what must be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Many people are waiting for motivation to strike like lightning before they move, not realizing that motivation is often the result of movement, not the cause of it. Feelings are unreliable guides. They fluctuate with the weather, with moods, with circumstances. But discipline is steady. It is built on decision, not emotion. And those who achieve lasting purpose are not those who feel good all the time, but those who do good even when they don't feel like it. There is a dangerous myth that passion is all you need to succeed. Passion is important, but passion without discipline is like a river with no banks. It becomes a flood, uncontrolled and directionless. Discipline gives structure to your energy. It tells your passion where to go and how to flow. Discipline is the daily commitment to your calling. It is waking up early when you would rather sleep. It is choosing focus when distractions are loud. It is showing up with consistency when inconsistency is easier. Greatness is not a product of occasional inspiration, but of daily habits repeated in silence. The people who make the greatest impact in life are not always the most gifted. They are the most committed. They understand that the cost of discipline today is always less than the regret of neglect tomorrow. Discipline says, I may not see results yet, but I trust the process. It trusts that repeated obedience will eventually yield visible fruit. That's why discipline is a form of faith. It acts without proof, believing that what is being sown in private will one day grow in public. When you live by discipline rather than emotion, you gain control over your life. You begin to govern your actions by values, not impulses. You don't wait for your feelings to give permission. You let your purpose give direction. A disciplined person has already made the decision before the opportunity to be lazy arises. Their yes and no are predetermined. They live with intention, not reaction. They schedule what matters instead of trying to squeeze it in between what doesn't. They prioritize growth. They honor their time. They protect their energy. Discipline also builds inner strength. Every time you make a hard choice in alignment with your vision, you strengthen your character. You may not feel it immediately, but you are becoming someone who can be trusted with more. That is why discipline attracts opportunity. When you are consistent, you become reliable. And when you are reliable, doors begin to open that only open to those who have proven they can handle responsibility. Discipline is not punishment, it is preparation. It trains you to manage what you've prayed for. It molds you into the kind of person who can steward success without being destroyed by it. And make no mistake, discipline is not just about doing more. It is about doing what matters. It is not busyness, it is effectiveness. Some people are disciplined in the wrong direction. They are consistent in distraction. True discipline aligns with your purpose and directs your efforts toward your destiny. It makes you ask, is this helping me become who I was born to be? And if the answer is no, it gives you the strength to walk away. Discipline teaches you how to say no to the good, so you can say yes to the best. Living by discipline requires you to be future-minded. You must value long-term reward over short-term relief. You must be willing to delay gratification in order to achieve transformation. That's not easy in a world that rewards quick results and instant feedback, but discipline plays a different game. It's not chasing applause, it's chasing alignment. It's not driven by emotions, it's driven by mission. Every act of discipline is a statement. I believe in my purpose enough to work for it when it's hard. The voices you allow into your life shape the direction of your thoughts, the strength of your convictions, and the depth of your motivation. You are always being influenced, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that influence is either fueling your growth or feeding your fears. The people you listen to, the conversations you entertain, and the words you meditate on are all seeds. What you allow to be planted in your mind will eventually manifest in your behavior. That is why being selective with your inner circle is not arrogance, it is wisdom. If you want to stay motivated in the midst of challenges, you must surround yourself with voices that speak to your future. Not just your frustrations. Not everyone can go where you are going. Not everyone understands the assignment you've been given. Some people love you, but they are not qualified to guide you. They care about you, but their perspective is limited by their own fears, their own failures, their own insecurities. If you allow their voices to dominate your mind, you will begin to shrink your vision to match their comfort zone. You will start doubting what you know deep inside simply because someone else couldn't see it. You cannot borrow vision from the blind, and you cannot borrow courage from the fearful. If the people closest to you are always questioning your calling, minimizing your goals, or mocking your progress, you must reevaluate whose voice you've given access to. Your heart voices have weight. Words have power. A single statement from someone you respect can either lift you into action or paralyze you with hesitation. That's why mentorship is so vital. A mentor does more than give advice. They awaken parts of you that fear tried to bury. They don't just see where you are, they see where you're going. They speak to your potential, not your current problems. They call you higher. They hold you accountable. They won't let you settle for mediocrity when greatness is inside you. The right voices push you when you're stuck and anchor you when you're drifting. They challenge your excuses and confront your complacency. There is a reason why isolation is dangerous. In isolation, your thoughts echo without correction. You start believing lies as truth because there is no opposing voice to interrupt the downward spiral. But when you are surrounded by purpose-driven voices, people who live with intentionality, who walk by faith, who have gone through fire and come out refined, you gain perspective. You are reminded that struggle is temporary, that pain has purpose, and that quitting is not an option. Even when your own voice grows tired, the voices around you can carry you for a season until you regain your strength. Community matters. You don't just need people who agree with you. You need people who sharpen you. Iron sharpens iron. Growth requires friction. Encouragement is not always comfortable. It sometimes comes wrapped in correction. But that correction, when it comes from a voice of wisdom, is life. Giving, it wakes you up, it stirs your soul, it reignites your commitment to your purpose. Every great leader, every world changer, every history maker had a voice behind them. Someone who believed in them before the world did. Someone who whispered truth when the noise of fear was loud. Someone who saw value when all that was visible was struggle. Be intentional about who you allow to speak into your life. Guard your ears like you guard your vision. The wrong voice can delay your destiny. The right voice can unlock your courage. If you consistently hear messages of fear, doubt, or limitation, those messages will become your mindset. But if you fill your environment with words of faith, vision, truth, and purpose, those words will become your foundation. In moments of challenge, you will draw strength not only from your own heart, but from the words that have been sown into you by others who see clearly and speak boldly. Gratitude is often overlooked in the pursuit of motivation, but it is one of the most powerful forces that can keep your spirit alive amid challenges. When you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, you are shifting your focus from what is lacking to what is abundant in your life. This shift is not just a mental exercise. It rewires your heart and mind to see possibilities instead of problems. Gratitude is the practice of recognizing and appreciating the blessings, big and small, that surround you even when the storms are raging. It's not about ignoring pain or difficulty, but about choosing to acknowledge that despite those challenges, there is still goodness present. When you face hardship, it's natural to focus on the negatives, the setbacks, the failures, the disappointments. But when gratitude is present, it acts like a lens that filters your experience through a different perspective. You begin to see that every challenge carries within it a lesson, a hidden blessing, or an opportunity for growth. Instead of being overwhelmed by what's going wrong, you become aware of what's going right. This awareness generates hope, and hope is the spark that keeps motivation burning when the night seems longest. Gratitude is also a form of faith. It declares that you trust the process, even when you don't fully understand it. It says, "I may not have arrived yet, but I'm thankful for how far I've come." It acknowledges that there is a purpose working behind the scenes. This kind of thankfulness moves you out of a victim mentality and into a place of empowerment. When you are grateful, you take ownership of your journey, accepting that every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of your story and your growth. Moreover, gratitude creates resilience. It strengthens your emotional muscles to handle stress and disappointment without breaking down. Research shows that people who practice gratitude regularly are more optimistic, sleep better, and have stronger relationships. This is because gratitude rewires your brain to focus on positives, which builds mental and emotional stamina. When you wake up every day and find reasons to be thankful, even if they are as simple as breath in your lungs or a roof over your head, you create a foundation of strength. This foundation is what carries you through the days when motivation feels distant. Gratitude also changes your interaction with others. When you appreciate those around you, you foster connections that bring support and encouragement. No one can do this journey alone. The relationships you nurture through gratitude become a network of strength that lifts you when you stumble. People are naturally drawn to those who have a thankful heart because gratitude is contagious. It inspires others to see the good and to keep going as well. Your gratitude can become a light in someone else's darkness. Another important aspect is that gratitude fuels humility. It reminds you that you are not self-sufficient but part of a larger story. This humility opens you to receive help and guidance from unexpected places. It keeps you teachable and open to growth. When you are humble and thankful, you are less likely to become discouraged by setbacks because you see them as temporary and part of a bigger plan. Finally, gratitude makes joy possible in the midst of difficulty. Joy is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of a deep peace that transcends circumstances. When gratitude fills your heart, joy becomes your companion and motivation becomes sustainable. You start to find reasons to celebrate progress, however small, and that celebration renews your strength to keep moving forward. Gratitude then is not just a feeling. It is a lifestyle that transforms how you live, how you respond, and how you stay motivated through every challenge. In the journey of life, challenges are inevitable, but staying motivated amid those challenges is a choice rooted deeply in understanding and applying key principles. Purpose ignites the fire within, giving your efforts meaning beyond momentary feeling. Vision keeps your eyes fixed on the prize, transforming obstacles into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Challenges themselves become your greatest teachers, refining your character and revealing your true strength. Discipline shapes your daily actions into lasting progress, building the bridge between desire and destiny. The voices you surround yourself with either lift you higher or weigh you down, so choose them wisely to fuel your courage and conviction. And through it all, gratitude anchors your heart, reminding you of the blessings present even in difficulty, cultivating resilience, joy, and peace. When these truths become the foundation of your mindset, motivation is no longer a fleeting emotion, but a steady force that carries you forward, empowering you to overcome, to grow, and to fulfill the unique destiny that awaits only you.